Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have Takotan, Hoshi no Taco, a 16-bit era inspired Shoot 'em Up. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Joseph Calabro and East Asia Soft, Takotan released in early September 2020 for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch, which is the version we're looking at today. As far as titles I would compare this one to, it feels most similar to the Proteus series, so if you like horizontal scrolling shoot 'em ups of that vein, this is one that I can recommend. It's one that I have enjoyed my time with a fair bit, but it also has some flaws and issues. So, diving into the main menu. From here, we can look at high scores, there's a couple extras that we can look at, and there's also, of course, the main play menu. In the play menu, we can select the normal game mode or the panic game mode. Panic and custom aren't unlocked until you finish the game in normal, but that's not too hard of an experience to accomplish. We also have a nice little assist on or off here, so with this it basically makes it so you take less damage. We'll turn on just so we can make the game a little bit on the easy side. And the custom mode is something that I really like. In custom mode you can really customize the gameplay to be what you want it to be. You can play it in normal or panic, and I'll explain the difference between those in a little bit, as well as adjusting speed, shield strength, power-ups, weapons you start with, and even what stages you start with. It's a really neat mode to have available once you've finished it. But of course we'll be looking at the game in normal. So first thing we get is Takotan, we need your help! And we see the 8 stages laid before us with some silhouettes of the bosses we'll fight in each stage. Stage 1, the boss. So important things to note. In the middle we have our score. To the right we have our lives, and to the left, importantly, we have our shield. So in normal mode you start with 1000 shield. As we take hits from enemies we'll lose shield strength. If we hit 0 we'll have one more hit, and then it's well, not game over, life over, and we'll restart from the beginning. As far as our abilities are concerned, we have 2 primary abilities as Takotan. We have our shot, which this is the normal shot that we start with. Then there's also a dodge. The dodge, you can't shoot, but it leaves you invulnerable for a period of time. It's actually quite useful to dodge things like these waves, but you do have to get the timing right. You have to be small before you'll no longer take damage. Throughout the course of the stage, as we defeat enemies, they'll drop a couple of potential items. One are these gems, which if we continue to shoot the gems, they will be worth additional points. There's also little like magical looking pots. If we collect those, there'll be a little icon that appears in the bottom left of the screen, and that's our special weapons that we can power up with. There are a total of 11 different special weapons, as well as a shield and invincibility. So some of the highlights from those special weapons, so there's one that gives you like an arcing bowling ball that you fire. There's this one, which is one of my favorites, the ninja stars, and there's also a very Gradius style laser, which is quite neat. In addition to that, in the bottom left corner, you see that green circle there. That's actually the cooldown for our dodge, so that's important to keep that in mind. Another pickup we can get, that little cake there. If you collect those cakes, it restores 80 shield. Very useful if you're looking to stay alive. Though the game itself is actually quite easy overall. So we just picked up another power-up, so we can switch from the Ninja Star to the needle. So this one's a useful weapon as it does pierce. The laser is also another piercing weapon, but it's always great to have additional firepower. So this part of the stage, we've got that ship in the background that's launching missiles at us. We have to dodge once they've like locked on. Not too hard, but it is something you just have to keep in mind as all these other missiles and enemies come flying at us. Fortunately, that crazy shark thing comes along and destroys the missile carrier. I'm not sure if the missile carrier was like the Earth forces or the alien forces. Anyway, the story is that we're this character Takotan, and we're saving the planet Earth from an alien invasion. Yay, more cake. So you can only restore your HP up to a maximum of, well, whatever your maximum happens to be. In this case of a normal run, 1,000. And those are the basic systems of Takotan. So it is important to remember your dodge, as it makes it quite easy to get around the enemies and continue to build up awesome combos, as well as shooting the gems for even more points is something we want to do. And one thing I have noted is the cooldown on your combo meter is actually very, very generous. If we're able to continue targeting enemies, then it's not that hard to keep that combo meter going. So this is our first stage boss. This boss fight is actually a little interesting. The boss will have all these phases where he's diving back and forth, shooting water at us. And then when he's glowing like this, I actually did that quite badly, the objective is to shoot him as he's on his way up. So one thing I do take a little issue with, why would an octopus take damage from water? So when he jumps out of the water, we have to shoot him, and then he is knocked out temporarily, and the fight can continue. It's a little bit of a slower boss fight, but I do appreciate that it's a little different from what you would experience in most shoot 'em ups, where you'd be shooting an enemy's core or something like that. Waiting for him to jump out of the water and then knock him out of the air is a pretty neat little idea. This should be the last set of hits we need to get on him. Then with that, boom, we move on to the next stage. So with that stage, you have a really good idea of the kind of gameplay you would expect to see in Takotan, as that really kind of serves up the title for your enjoyment in all of its glory. So I know at this point I've turned on an even easier mode than is normally the case, but in normal, the game itself is actually quite easy. And that's my first and big minus flavor with it, is the game itself is just a little bit too easy, too repetitive. But for at least a few playthroughs, it's definitely enjoyable. In addition to that, you have a gigantic hitbox, and most of the time it's not too big of a problem, especially since we do have that dodge. But there are certain stages where you have finer movement between background obstacles, and it's hard to get around them just because of how large Takotan actually is. But moving on to the plus flavors, one of the big things that I have to say about this title is Takotan is just so cute. I just love those shoot 'em ups that have a rather cute protagonist, or ship in this case, or however you want to refer to Takotan. And in addition to that, the bosses and a lot of the enemies have a cute aesthetic to them as well. The stages are well laid out, and the game really does do an excellent job of capturing that 16-bit era feel. So especially, oh sweet, invisibility! Invisibility is kind of cute as we start to spin faster and faster, being able to deal damage to enemies and not taking any damage while we do it. Eventually we hit a certain speed and bam, invisibility over. So especially if horizontal scrolling shoot 'em ups and cute 'em ups of this era are your jam, then it's one that I recommend you give a try. Well, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.